What if I told you that one of the most pivotal figures in Christianity, the Apostle Paul, was born in a city now located in a predominantly Muslim nation? Yes, Paul, the man whose conversion and missionary journeys shaped much of the New Testament, hailed from Tarsus, a city in what is now southern Turkey. But here's the fascinating part. This same land, modern-day Turkey, is deeply rooted in biblical history and prophecy. From ancient civilizations like the Hittites to the 7 churches of Revelation, Turkey holds a unique position in the Bible. And according to prophecy, it may play a critical role in the events leading up to the end times, including the infamous War of Gog and Magog. How did this land, known as Anatolia in ancient times, become so intertwined with the stories of faith, prophecy, and destiny? And what might its future hold as global events unfold? Welcome to Deep Bible Studies, where we bridge the past with the present and explore how ancient scriptures align with our modern world. Today, we're diving into Turkey's incredible journey through biblical history, its connection to prophecy, and its potential role in the future. So, grab a seat, hit that like button, and let's embark on this enlightening journey together. Part 1. The origins of Turkey in the Bible. When exploring the deep connections between the Bible and the land we now know as Turkey, we find that its roots stretch back to the earliest chapters of Genesis. Specifically, Genesis 10, commonly known as the Table of Nations, provides the genealogical foundation for the post-flood dispersion of Noah's descendants. This chapter outlines how the 3 sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, became the forefathers of nations that spread across the known world. Among them, Japheth, the eldest son, is identified as the ancestor of peoples who settled in the regions of Europe and Asia, including the area now recognized as Turkey. In Genesis 10 verses 2 to 3, we read the names of Japheth's descendants, the sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Jovan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, Rippath, and Togarmah. Scholars have long associated Gomer and Togarmah with the ancient inhabitants of Anatolia, the heartland of modern-day Turkey. Gomer is believed to represent a group of tribes that migrated into Asia Minor, establishing a significant presence in the region. Togarmah, identified as a son of Gomer, is often linked to the northern areas of Turkey, where some of the earliest civilizations arose. These connections tie the people and the land of Turkey directly to the genealogical narrative of the Bible. Beyond the Table of Nations, the names Magog, Tubal, and Meshech resurface in the prophetic writings of Ezekiel, particularly in chapters 38 and 39, where they are described as key players in a future conflict known as the War of Gog and Magog. Ezekiel 38 verse 6 specifically mentions Gomer and Togarmah, stating, "Gomer and all his hordes, Beth Togarmah from the far north with all its troops, the many nations with you." This passage positions these descendants of Japheth as part of an alliance that will rise against Israel in the last days. While interpretations vary, many biblical scholars and historians have identified Magog as encompassing regions north of Israel, potentially including parts of Turkey, southern Russia, and Central Asia. This connection is not merely symbolic, it reflects a geographical reality. The region of Anatolia, encompassing modern Turkey, was historically a bridge between continents. It linked Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, serving as a crossroads for trade, culture, and military campaigns. This centrality in the ancient world reinforces the significance of Turkey's role in biblical history and prophecy. The names Gomer, Togarmah, and Magog provide historical and prophetic links to the nations that emerged in this area, marking it as a land of importance not only in the past, but also in the eschatological future. The prophetic significance of Turkey becomes even clearer when viewed through the lens of geography and modern history. The descriptions in Ezekiel of a coalition of nations, including Magog, Gomer, and Togarmah, coming from the far north align with Turkey's strategic position relative to Israel. This connection has fueled discussions about how Turkey's alliances and political movements might align with the prophesied events of the end times. For instance, Turkey's geographical proximity to Russia and Iran, two nations also frequently discussed in the context of Ezekiel's prophecies, raises intriguing questions about its potential role in the fulfillment of these biblical narratives. Moreover, the historical context of Gomer and Togarmah suggests a pattern of significance for the peoples of Anatolia. The ancient civilizations that thrived in the region, such as the Hittites and later the Phrygians and Lydians, played crucial roles in shaping the history and cultures of the biblical world. While these connections will be explored in later parts of this study, it is essential to recognize that the roots of these civilizations are intertwined with the biblical genealogies outlined in Genesis 10. The descendants of Japheth were not just abstract names in a genealogy, they were real peoples who established the foundations for some of the most powerful and influential societies of the ancient world. The prophetic emphasis on this region is not an accident. The names Gomer, Togarmah, and Magog serve as markers of both the historical and eschatological importance of Anatolia. As the land where East meets West, Turkey has always been a land of convergence of cultures, religions, and, as prophecy suggests, divine plans. From the earliest records in Genesis to the dramatic visions of Ezekiel, Turkey emerges as a land with a unique and enduring role in God's unfolding story. This biblical foundation not only underscores the historical roots of Turkey but also frames its significance in the future. The repeated mention of Gomer, Togarmah, and Magog in both Genesis and Ezekiel creates a thread that ties the ancient past to the prophetic future. While the details of how these prophecies will unfold remain debated, the geographical and historical connections to Anatolia provide a compelling argument for Turkey's centrality in biblical narratives. In exploring Turkey's biblical origins, we find more than just a land rich in history. We uncover a region intricately woven into the fabric of Scripture, standing as a witness to both the past and the promises of the future. As we move forward in this journey, the question remains, how will Turkey's ancient roots shape its prophetic destiny in the times to come? Part 2. The Hittite Empire in Biblical and Historical Context. The Hittite Empire, one of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient Near East, holds a unique place in biblical narratives and the broader history of the region. This ancient Anatolian empire, centered in modern-day Turkey, is mentioned multiple times in the Bible, often in connection with pivotal events and key figures in Israelite history. To understand the significance of the Hittites, we must explore their role in both biblical accounts and historical records, examining their interactions with the patriarchs, their cultural achievements, and their eventual decline, which paved the way for other civilizations in Anatolia. In the Bible, the Hittites are first mentioned in the genealogies of Genesis. They are descendants of Canaan, the son of Ham, one of Noah's sons. As stated in Genesis 10 verses 15 to 19, Canaan was the father of Sidon his firstborn, and of the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and Hamathites. This connection places the Hittites among the original inhabitants of Canaan, a land that became central to the story of the Israelites. One of the most well-known mentions of the Hittites in the Bible occurs in the story of Abraham. In Genesis 23, Abraham seeks a burial site for his wife Sarah and negotiates with Ephron the Hittite for the purchase of the cave of Machpelah. The passage details the transaction, demonstrating the Hittites' presence in the region and their role in facilitating this significant moment in the patriarchal narrative. Genesis 23 verses 10 to 11 describes the interaction. Ephron the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. "No, my lord," he said. "Listen to me, I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead." Ultimately, Abraham insists on paying for the land, securing it as a permanent family burial site. This cave would later hold the remains of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their wives, making it a cornerstone of Israelite history. Another significant reference to the Hittites is found in the story of King David and Bathsheba. Bathsheba's husband, Uriah, is described as a Hittite, a foreigner who served loyally in David's army. In 2 Samuel 11, Uriah's integrity and faithfulness starkly contrast with David's moral failure. After committing adultery with Bathsheba, David attempts to cover up his sin by orchestrating Uriah's death on the battlefield. This act of betrayal underscores the complexity of David's character and highlights the presence of Hittites within Israelite society as respected warriors and citizens. Historically, the Hittites were not merely minor players in the biblical world, they were a dominant force in the ancient Near East, rivaling Egypt, Assyria, and Babylon. Centered in Hattusa, modern Bozkır, Turkey, the Hittite Empire thrived between the 17th and 12th centuries BCE. They were known for their advanced legal systems, military innovations, and diplomatic acumen. The Hittites were among the first to use iron extensively, giving them a technological edge in warfare. Their chariots, renowned for their speed and maneuverability, played a crucial role in their military campaigns. The Hittites' interactions with Egypt are well documented in both biblical and extra-biblical sources. One of the most notable events in Hittite history is the Battle of Kadesh, circa 1274 BCE, fought between the Hittites and the Egyptians under Pharaoh Ramses II. Although not directly mentioned in the Bible, this battle highlights the geopolitical significance of the Hittites during the time of the Exodus, a period closely tied to Israelite history. From a cultural perspective, the Hittites were remarkable for their syncretic approach to religion. They adopted and adapted deities from neighboring cultures, including Mesopotamian, Hurrian, and even Canaanite gods. This religious pluralism likely influenced their interactions with other nations, including the Israelites. The Hittites' extensive archives, discovered at Hattusa, include treaties, laws, and religious texts, providing valuable insights into their society and their relationships with neighboring powers. Despite their strength and influence, the Hittite Empire eventually collapsed around 1200 BCE, during the Late Bronze Age collapse. This period of widespread upheaval in the ancient Near East saw the decline of major civilizations, including the Mycenaeans, Egyptians, and Babylonians. The reasons for the Hittites' decline remain debated, with factors such as invasions by the Sea Peoples, internal strife, and economic instability likely contributing to their downfall. In the wake of their collapse, smaller kingdoms like Phrygia and Lydia rose to prominence in Anatolia, carrying forward some aspects of Hittite culture. In biblical history, the decline of the Hittite Empire does not mark the end of their significance. The Hittites continued to appear as a distinct group in later texts, often serving as a symbol of Canaanite opposition to Israel. For instance, in Joshua 1 verse 4, God promises the Israelites a land that stretches from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. This reference underscores the enduring association of the Hittites with the land of Canaan and the broader narrative of Israel's conquest and settlement. The legacy of the Hittites extends beyond their biblical and historical roles. As one of the first major empires in Anatolia, they laid the groundwork for subsequent civilizations in the region. Their contributions to law, governance, and warfare influenced neighboring cultures and left an indelible mark on the history of the ancient Near East. In summary, the Hittites occupy a significant place in both the biblical narrative and the history of Anatolia. From their interactions with the patriarchs to their role as a major power in the ancient world, the Hittites represent a bridge between the biblical world and the broader historical context of the Near East. Their presence in the Bible, combined with the wealth of archaeological evidence from Hattusa, provides a fascinating glimpse into a civilization that shaped the course of history and faith. As we move forward, the story of the Hittites serves as a foundation for understanding the transition to the smaller kingdoms that followed, such as Phrygia and Lydia, which would continue to shape the biblical and historical landscape of Anatolia. Part 3. Phrygia and Lydia, biblical and historical significance. After the decline of the Hittite Empire around 1200 BCE, the vacuum left in Anatolia allowed for the rise of smaller yet influential kingdoms, including Phrygia and Lydia. These two regions, both situated in modern-day Turkey, played pivotal roles in shaping the historical, cultural, and religious fabric of Anatolia. In biblical narratives and Christian history, they emerge as significant locations linked to key events and figures in the development of early Christianity. Exploring their contributions reveals how these ancient regions connected the past and present in the biblical storyline. Phrygia, located in the central part of Anatolia, was one of the prominent powers in the region following the collapse of the Hittites. Known for its distinct culture and mythology, Phrygia was also home to some of the most fascinating characters and traditions of the ancient world. The legendary King Midas, whose touch supposedly turned everything to gold, is often associated with this region. While this mythological figure is not directly referenced in the Bible, the culture and influence of Phrygia set the stage for its interaction with biblical events. Phrygia's significance in the New Testament is unmistakable, particularly in the Acts of the Apostles. During the missionary journeys of the Apostle Paul, Phrygia became an important stop. In Acts 16 verse 6, Luke recounts how Paul and his companions traveled through Phrygia during their efforts to spread the gospel. Paul and his companions traveled throughout the region of Phrygia and Galatia, having been kept by the Holy Spirit from preaching the word in the province of Asia. This brief but important mention highlights Phrygia as part of the early missionary efforts to bring Christianity to the Gentile world. It was during these journeys that Paul encountered diverse communities and brought the message of Christ to areas previously steeped in pagan traditions. Phrygia's strategic location as a crossroads between East and West made it a melting pot of cultures and beliefs. This diverse environment created opportunities for the gospel to spread, but also posed challenges, as the region was deeply influenced by Greco-Roman and local religious practices. Phrygia became a site where early Christian teachings confronted existing traditions, setting the stage for the cultural and spiritual transformation that would define much of Anatolia in the coming centuries. The legacy of these interactions is still felt today, as the ruins of ancient Phrygian cities like Gordium and Hierapolis testify to the region's historical importance. Moving westward, the ancient kingdom of Lydia emerges as another significant player in Anatolia's biblical and historical landscape. Located in what is now the western part of Turkey, Lydia was renowned for its wealth and prosperity. The Lydians were among the first to use coinage, an innovation that revolutionized trade and established their reputation as one of the wealthiest civilizations of the ancient world. This prosperity is mirrored in biblical narratives, where the region's economic significance intersects with the spread of Christianity. One of the most notable biblical connections to Lydia is the story of Lydia of Thyatira, a wealthy woman who is considered the first documented convert to Christianity in Europe. Her story is recounted in Acts 16 verses 14 to 15, where she is described as a dealer in purple cloth who worshipped God. Purple cloth was an extremely valuable commodity in the ancient world, symbolizing wealth and prestige, and Lydia's trade in this material indicates her high social status. According to the text, Lydia was listening to Paul preach in the city of Philippi when the Lord opened her heart to accept his message. After her conversion, she and her household were baptized, and she invited Paul and his companions to stay at her home. "If you consider me a believer in the Lord," she said, "come and stay at my house." And she persuaded us. Lydia's story is remarkable for several reasons. First, it highlights the role of women in the early Christian movement. As a successful businesswoman, Lydia broke societal norms of her time, and her conversion underscores the inclusive nature of the gospel message. Second, her hospitality toward Paul and his companions reflects the early Christian emphasis on community and support. Lydia's home likely became one of the first house churches in Philippi, serving as a base for the spread of Christianity in the region. Finally, Her connection to Thyatira ties her story back to Anatolia, demonstrating how the land that produced some of the earliest converts to Christianity played a role in shaping the faith's expansion into Europe. Lydia, like Phrygia, existed at a crossroads of cultures and religions. The region's wealth and trade networks brought it into contact with the wider Mediterranean world, creating opportunities for new ideas and beliefs to take root. Lydia's openness to the gospel, as evidenced by the conversion of its namesake, illustrates how the region's interconnectedness facilitated the spread of Christianity. As a part of Anatolia, Lydia's significance extends beyond its wealth and trade. It became a bridge for the early Christian movement, linking the Eastern and Western worlds in profound ways. Both Phrygia and Lydia serve as reminders of Anatolia's unique role in biblical and early Christian history. These regions, shaped by their geography and cultural complexity, became integral to the spread of the gospel. The Apostle Paul's journeys through Phrygia and his connection to Lydia of Thyatira underscore the importance of these areas in the mission to bring Christianity to the Gentile world. Beyond their biblical connections, the historical significance of these kingdoms lies in their ability to adapt and thrive in a rapidly changing world, influencing not only the region of Anatolia, but also the broader Mediterranean. In conclusion, the stories of Phrygia and Lydia reveal how these ancient kingdoms contributed to the unfolding of God's plan as described in the Bible. From Paul's missionary journeys through Phrygia to Lydia's conversion in Thyatira, these regions are woven into the tapestry of early Christian history. Their cultural and economic significance, combined with their openness to the gospel, made them pivotal in the development of Christianity. As we continue to explore the role of Anatolia in biblical narratives, the enduring impact of Phrygia and Lydia reminds us of the profound ways in which history, geography, and faith intersect. As we've explored, Turkey's biblical roots run deep, from the descendants of Noah settling in Anatolia, to the powerful Hittite Empire woven into the stories of Abraham and King David, and finally to the early Christian missions in Phrygia and Lydia. This land has been a crossroads of cultures, faiths, and history, playing a foundational role in both the Old and New Testaments. But Turkey's story in the Bible doesn't stop here. In the next part, we'll uncover how this land became pivotal under the Persian Empire, was transformed by Hellenistic and Roman influence, and later stood at the center of the early church's growth. Join us as we continue this fascinating journey through Turkey's place in biblical history and prophecy.